When people hear the word preparedness, they often assume it signals fear. But in scripture, preparedness is wisdom. Proverbs 22:3 tells us the prudent sees danger and hides himself, but the simple go on and suffer for it. Preparedness is not panic, it is prudence. In uncertain times, anxiety grows when families feel unorganized. Often, fear does not come from something that has happened. It comes from not knowing what would happen if something happened. Preparedness reduces that fear. And when fear is reduced, children feel safer. Wise decisions are made, and it's better for the whole family. Proverbs 6 speaks of the ant that stores provision in summer. Jesus teaches in Luke 14:28 that before building a tower, one should sit down and count the cost. Ephesians 5:15 reminds us to walk carefully and make wise use of time. Preparation is not distrust in God, it is faithful stewardship. Throughout church history, believers prepared communities for instability, not because they lacked faith, but because they trusted that wisdom protects the vulnerable. Preparedness is an act of love. And that's our goal with you acting to help our refugee friends prepare. Let me share with you a realistic example that happened. A refugee father had a valid work authorization card provided by the government. He had steady employment. His children were enrolled in school, but he did not realize that renewal processing time had increased. His renewal paperwork was filed late, and for several weeks, he was unable to legally work. That delay led to missed rent, maybe a scarcity of food, to not unable to buy food. So anxiety, increased in the home. There was stress in the marriage, and there was perhaps, impatience there among everyone there. Children sensed the instability. Nothing dramatic happened. There was no detention. There was no confrontation. But disorganization caused this suffering. Now imagine a different version of that story. A volunteer, that's you, sits down 6 months before that expiration. They look at the card together, talk about it, making sure that they understand. They set a calendar reminders. They connect early with an attorney. And that 1 hour of structure prevented weeks of fear. Sometimes preparedness prevents these headlines of unnecessary stress, but it always protects the dignity, and that's our goal. Emergency preparedness begins with simple organization. Families should maintain a clearly labeled folder that includes all of their legal documents. If they have a passport, which they won't until after they become citizens after 5 years, but they will have what's called the I-94 form, which is the immigration paperwork. They will have work authorization documents. They will have a social security number provided. They will have pending applications, and it's important to keep receipts of when those are filed, and you want to keep the filing receipts, and there may be need to print that off for them because they most likely will not have a printer. And there's a need to have an attorney contact information. 1 Corinthians 14:33 tells us that God is not a God of confusion, but of peace, and disorganization creates confusion. Confusion creates fear, and fear spreads quickly. It's like blinking or breathing. Anxiety and fear can move throughout the house pretty quickly. Organization creates this peace, and volunteers can help families do these tasks of making copies and scan documents securely, using maybe even your phone to use your camera to scan them and showing them how to do that. Print out to have folders physically and digitally would be wise. Write down renewal dates. Get a calendar of some kind to have dates to plan in the future. Volunteers must never give illegal advice. We can connect families to licensed attorneys for legal counsel. Our role is structure, organization. Here's another example. A mother receives a call that her spouse was being questioned by authorities. Nothing dramatic followed, but she was shaken. Her first thought was not legal complexity, but her first thought was, who's picking up my kids today at school? She had not updated emergency school contacts at the school office. So the school would not release the children to a neighbor. And so, in moments of stress, even small details feel overwhelming. Now, imagine this was prepared better or wiser. The school emergency contact form lists 2 trusted adults. Those adults know they are backups. Birth certificates and immunization records are stored in an accessible folder. Preparedness lowers the emotional trauma and the stress that causes. James 1:27 reminds us that pure religion includes caring for the vulnerable. Sometimes caring for children means paperwork. It may not feel spiritual, but it is sacred. It will feel worthwhile your time as you do it. Many families do not realize how early renewal processes must begin. Helping families set these 6-month reminders is very helpful. Set 3-month reminders, 1-month reminders, 2-week reminders. Keep copies of the filing receipts. That's very important, that they can prove that they filed, particularly if they're filing to get the green card. Maintain attorney contact information. We will have a list here on this resource of that. That can be a challenge because there's a lot of people seeking that. But remember what the scripture says. Look carefully then how you walk, making the best of use of your time. It says in Ephesians, time matters. Missed deadlines destabilize homes. Tracking timelines protects stability. This is not, quote, dramatic ministry, but it's disciplined ministry. Another example is about the peace that comes through preparation. I once spoke with a family who had organized all of their documents in advance. They had copies of everything, and they were proud of that and showed me very proudly. They had contact information for an attorney. They had copies of guardianship plan that had been discussed in the case of detainment, and the children were there with another parent. They had the school contacts updated. When uncertainty arose in their community, they were concerned, but they were not panicked. The father told me, we are not afraid, we are prepared. Preparation does not eliminate the uncertainty. That uncertainty will be there, but it reduces the emotional chaos. And emotional chaos harms the kids of the home most. Kids absorb that. As you're a parent, you know that reality. It must be clearly stated, preparedness does not include, coaching evasion, encouraging non-compliance, providing legal interpretation without qualification. It's important to know that there's rules and laws that governing authorities are going by, and whether you agree with those or not. But we do encourage lawful compliance, particularly if someone is detained. Of course, if there's need for legal counsel and help, you need to seek that out. But responsible organization, early engagement with a licensed counsel, attorney, our compassion, must remain lawful. Structure protects everyone. The scripture says perfect love casts out fear. Sometimes love looks like prayer. Sometimes love looks like sitting at a kitchen table with a folder, organizing papers and the bills and documents that maybe are hard to read by our friends. Sometimes love looks like writing a date on a calendar. Preparedness may feel simple, but simple structure builds resilient homes. You may not control all the laws of national immigration, but you can help one family feel organized, and you can reduce fear in the household. You can protect children from chaos. So your role in being that mentor to them is the preparedness. It's the quiet work, but quiet work is powerful work. And it must be noticed, important to note here in conclusion, that there could be detainment happen that is unlawful, that is not right in the sense of like they have come here legally by our government, and because of their because of recent policies that they are being detained in a way that's not humane, that's not fair, based on their current status, their current immigration status. So if that's the case, you definitely need to seek legal counsel and seek out ways of what to respond and to help in that situation.